Hi there, it's Greg here, and I'm going to talk about the statement screen in this video. I intend to do some help videos for we call it Super UNAC. Whether it will continue to be called that I don't know, but the Super UNAC application. And we have, an increasing number of users, a small elite force of users, we should say. And it would be useful, I think, for anyone using the screen to understand what the design of the screen is and how I look at it, because when I took the business process from UNAC, I did something with it. You're very familiar with the business process, and I had to become familiar with the business process to capture it and put it into a screen. And if you look at it through those eyes, it should really help you to understand the flow of the screen, the purpose of everything, and I think you'll probably gain an overall picture of it that you might not have had, even if you have used it, as some people have, to produce statements up till now. It's good to step back. So I'm going to keep it at that level. So this is the statement screen. It produces statements, and it's like an animal, I think, which eats three things. Think of it as only eating three things, and it might seem simpler then. You've got it eats the payment schedule, it eats the receipts, and it eats the deal between the landlord and the agent, and it produces statements from those three major pieces of information. It's such an important overview idea that I've put it up here. Correct schedule plus correct receipts plus correct deal equals correct. It's easy to get bogged down or lost a little bit in the detail of, oh, so-and-so's moved in, there's a charge here, there's a refund here, whatever. You are actually only acting on two parts of that equation. The schedule you can alter. That's just a payment schedule. Let's do that first. Who owed what when? Now, broadly speaking, these are the receipts over here, receipts for money that people have paid from the bank and from UNAC. This is a summary of the number of people in the house and what they owe at this moment in time. And this is an individual account, in this case that of Bobby Hartanto. And these links change which individual account we are looking at. It's now going to go on to Calvin Santoso, which you can see there as a cross-check. Just to be clear, we're talking about his account. And what is a payment schedule? It's who owes what when. I'm always talking about the payment schedule because it's where 90% of the work goes in this screen. It's this item plus due plus owed. Just those three things there. That's the payment schedule, what that person owes at a point in time. So when we talk about the payment schedule, there it is. And when you come to apply receipts from over here to an account over here, this schedule has to be correct first. Okay. The second component of our three major components is receipts, but they're just facts. You can't alter them, you can't work on them, you just have to find them. So all the work in this screen to do with receipts is to do with finding them. That's why we've got three search filters here that work together to sift through all the information, and that's why we import all the receipts from UNAC. You can see that these receipts here are the same as those receipts up there, and they've been manually entered into UNAC. And the way they get here from UNAC is we press refresh UNAC receipts, which you should do a couple of times a day. It's best not to hammer it because it does quite a lot of work, and just pressing it once or twice a day between all of you will refresh the receipts to that point in time. The other way they get in there is by loading bank receipts. This is what Charlotte and Carol have done so far. You prepare the bank receipt into a CSV file from the co-op, which is their download of your transactions, ensuring that you download with a sufficient overlap to ensure that since your last download you're capturing all transactions. So if you did one 7 days ago, you could set the download to be 8 days ago. Make sure there's that overlap there. Produce the file, press create, and it loads them in. I'm going to cancel that now, and it's going to reload the screen. And you can see this screen is reloading, the one we just came from. It takes quite a long time because it's a big screen, because it does a lot of work. And the idea there is that you don't have to go anywhere else to produce statements or maintain student accounts. It's all here on the screen. So when either the imported receipts from UNAC or the bank receipts are loaded, based on either, in the case of imported receipts, the sign-up ID there, or in the case of bank loads from the bank receipts, using the bank ref, it matches to accounts. And at the moment, we're getting a lot of good matches from either this or this. So most of them are matched, but some of them are unmatched, and I'll come back to that later. So that's the second part, the receipts, and I'll show you how these 3 filters work in a moment in order to find the receipts. The third part is the deal, which applies to the statement. Now, this is the deal down here. It's on what's known as the hover tab. Hover stands for handover. Really, it should say statement, but we'll stick with hover for the time being. Okay, and this here is like got nothing in it at the moment. Why has it got nothing in it? It's because everybody's up to date and there's no payments. But if we, for the sake of argument, go to Cassandra Nelson, we can see that she is the only one that still owes me any money, sadly, from this house this year. She's got a 25th of April amount. You see, up in the summary, you can tell at a glance that all the other people have paid for the whole year, because the year total equals the amount paid and the balance is 0. With Cassandra Nelson, the paid amount is less than the year total, but the balance is still 0, because at this moment in time she's not overdue with anything. So that's how that works. Who is the account ID? Let's just flash through these. Who is the account ID of the selected person? You won't have much truck with it, but I need that information to be displayed. But it's an indicator of who you're on. Okay. Paid is how much they've paid that year. Who is obviously who. Year total is what they will pay for the year. Due is what's due now. Balance is whether they're up to date. The group ID we use, ignore dash and sched for the moment. Dash shouldn't really be in there, but I've been sort of looking behind the scenes today. But group ID is the group ID 17101 for this group in this year, and it corresponds to this group code here, the 102 Spon-End Property 14 to 15 academic year people. Now that I've got Cassandra Nelson selected, you can see that I could apply money from over here. If it hadn't already been applied, actually, it's already been applied. And I'm trying to, you see, this status from the bank receipts upload or UNAC upload is either loaded, which means you can apply it because it's just been loaded, or applied, which means it's been applied already. And if I try and apply that, I get an error, which is absolutely correct, because obviously you don't want to be pumping imaginary funds into their student account. So we do have another option for paying it, which we can use here. It's this pound sign here. We can pay from here, because in the real world you might be behind on your receipts, or for some reason somebody might have paid cash, or it's not receipted over here and you want to pay it because you need to get a statement out. Well, let's just pay it here. We know it's being paid. And we want to update our student account. Did I press that? I don't think I did. There we go, it's working now. Now it's been paid, and you can see that her account has updated there, and even up here the balance is updated to show that she's paid ahead of herself. She actually doesn't owe that money, but now she's paid for the whole year. 3348.53 is all she owes. Same there and there. And because she's only due that amount, she's got a positive balance on her account. If she was behind, it would be a negative balance. And if she was behind, this item would be red here, not green, which means paid. And blue means not yet due. It would be red if she was behind, and we will see one of those. Anyway, now that we've paid that, let's go to the handover tab. There's some money to hand over to the landlord. Oh dear, it's not showing. That's because on this tab, to stop this thing doing lots of unnecessary work, I've put a refresh button there. It's on demand. When you come to this tab, just bang the refresh button and you'll see the latest state of play. We see that Cassandra Nelson has paid in rent terms 571.54, and bills have been split off from that because this is a bills included. That brings us down to the deal straight away. Bills included agent is the deal. 3 options there. Bills not included, self-explanatory, or bills included, landlord. And that means that the agent, bills included agent, the agent is retaining the bill amount, and it's deducted from the amount sent to the landlord. It's just kept separate, really. Now, we could change that. Let's just change that, and let's start to explore what effect we have upon the report. Let's do bills included landlord. I've changed that there, and I'm going to update deals. You need to do that in order to get the change through to the database. When you've done that, keep your eye on the total for handover here, which is 520.1. Let's refresh this, and you can say 675.99. The only deductions there are the commission of 42.87, which you can see here, plus the VAT. Okay, let's change that back again. Excuse me. And you can see that that 675.99 should now change back to what it was. Next one, bills admin fee. Do we do a bills admin fee? Excuse me. I'm not sure if that will work or do anything, actually, because I don't seem to recall using it very much. But because it's not used very much, I'm not going to mess around with it. If you do have to put a bill admin fee in, then just try it out. This is only a sort of calculation and reporting thing on this page. Right, this is the commission. I'm currently being charged 0.75 commission. Let's just change that to 10% for a moment. 0.1, obviously. It's 10%. Refresh. Keep your eye on the total for handover. Did I update that? Commission for one. Did I update that? There we go. Now it's 10%. I don't like the look of that. Let's put it back where it was. Update deals. Okay. Placement fee and placement fee override we'll come back to in a bit. And do we charge commission on bills? No, which I think is correct, but let's change that to yes. Update the deals, and then the bills amount, or the commission amount, should change. Yeah, it did. So that's still up and running. So I'm just going through these because actually I haven't used these for a while, but I've got a good degree of confidence in them. Let's change that back. So that's whether you want to put bills commission on. Okay. The DAS end, it should really say DPS end. I've changed that. It's to do with did we handle the deposit on the landlord's behalf for DPS, in which case it would be £37.50p, £37.50 fee, and the bill percentage is just the percentage of the rent that goes on bills. I've whacked it up by 10% there, so you should see the bills increase, everything else decreases, and Bob's your uncle. Let's change that back. Oops, change that back again to 2. Okay, so as I say, you're not this is a reporting page. you're reporting on things here, and so you can play about with them until they're right, because you're not affecting the underlying accounts, you're just extracting information and manipulating it and reporting on it and presenting it and arriving at a total. So you can mess around with these, press update deals and refresh, but in actual fact most of the deals will be set up. So they're fairly static and they won't need changing that often, but they will sometimes. So going back to the original concept that I was talking about, the schedule, the correct payment schedule, let's just hammer this home. Who owes what, when, and how much. That's the payment schedule. Payment schedule here. Payment schedule plus correct receipts. Receipts are here. You have to find them. It's all about searching. You can't change them. Plus the correct deal, which we've just been looking at, equals correct. So really, when you come to do anything that appears problematic, just calculate what difference it makes to the payment schedule, and you'll be fine. Now, if I was to be charged some maintenance, I could add a payment item. Now, a payment item here, this is a powerful little feature. It really, would be better if I said add student payment item or add landlord payment item, but as it happens, you can direct information from here to the landlord account or the student account. Let me show you what I mean. You've got to press this button here. That's a bit of a gotcha, really, because that refreshes this list here. Okay, so to get the ball rolling, press that, and you need to see the correct accounts in here. That has to be the correct landlord account, and that has to be the correct student account. So let's add for student Cassandra Nelson something that's due today, and all of these are compulsory. Payment item of £50 amount for damage, okay, and it's not vatable, okay, and when we've satisfied with those and we put the student, we've filled everything in, we can press add payment item, and that should then appear there for her. There it is. It appears. It shouldn't appear green because it hasn't been paid. That's a bit annoying, but it should actually. Oh no, actually. Let's have a think about this. I reckon I'm thinking out loud here just to show you how this works. Let's wind that back to the 1st of March. Oh no. I'm losing the plot. Right, I'm going to update this, okay. Now that I've added it, I'm going to plunge you straight into update. These two function buttons are what we use to alter the payment items in including to this. So when you say adjust the payment schedule, where you will be doing most of any adjustments that you do on the screen, it's the delete, D for delete, U for update, or the add payment items. Okay, so what the hell? Let's delete it. No, let's update it. Let's update it. So see what I did there? I pressed update, and it refreshed the screen, and it brought this information here from this row where that update was pressed. That information it brought in over here. Let's say that's not today. Let's say it's the 1st. It's old. And we'll update on this occasion, update the payment items. Okay, now, so that should go from the 26th of March to the 1st, and now it's overdue because it should have been paid back in March. It's sort of, it's interesting, you know, you've got to kind of think about what you're doing. I mean, it wasn't in the future, so it wasn't blue. It's now in the past as due, so it's red. And the other choice was green. So, you know, this program isn't doing a bad job. of representing this information to us, but you know what, it's not perfect, and all of this information on this screen is just a best guess, and it still needs to be improved, and it's a little overcomplicated in parts, but that's where, if you invest some time in this and return to this video, it should make your life a lot easier, and it will all be improved as we go along. So anyway, we could just pay that. Actually, it hasn't appeared on her total there. The reason is because that only deals with rent, deposits and TAFs at the moment. I might take TAFs out of it, but anyway, we could pay it or unpay it, or you know, pay it. There we go. Pay it using the pay button. Or we could say no, that check didn't, that check bounced, so let's unpay it. See, the reverse pound sign is unpay and the pound sign is pay. It's this convention that you'll see all over, well, not all over, but in several places. Let's pay it again. You know, you can pay and unpay quite merrily, you know. It'll take you a long time to break things doing that. Be there for several hundred years probably to build up enough data to cause a problem, but you can pay and unpay. You know, you're creating the information for the report here. Notice that on the handover report, that won't make any difference whatsoever, except that what did make a difference there was the bill percentage going back down again, but there's nothing in there about the £50. That's an internal matter to UNAC, whereas this is a handover report to the landlord, which just deals with rent and deposits. Okay, so and now we can delete it because it is entirely fictitious. Do you want to delete it? Yes, I do. Right, so let's delete that, and hopefully it will refresh and show us that it's deleted. Taking its time, isn't it? Did I press yes or no? Let's try that again. I want to delete this item. I do want to delete this account item, and hopefully it will bugger off in a moment. Is this a bug I see before me? Refuses to delete it, doesn't it? Okay, well, I'm going to roll over that and carry on, because I think the gist of this presentation is quite correct, and I'll circle back on that and make sure that it's working. So that's the idea anyway. It should delete it and remove it from Cassandra Nelson. So I'm going to try going to Santuzo and then back to Nelson. Sometimes with any computer program, you know, you're not looking at the latest thing on the screen and you just need to refresh, but in this case obviously it hasn't deleted it, and I need to do some work to correct that problem. Right, anyway, before we leave 102 Spawn End, I'm going to unpay that. Do you know what? I've just realised what it, and this is typical, isn't it? Now, I haven't done one of these for ages, but I bet you if I unpay it first, okay, now it's unpaid, bet you I can delete it then. Do I want to delete it? Yes, I do. Bingo. There you go. You see, yes, I concede it is complicated, and you have to kind of get a feel for it, but hopefully this help will give an example of everything, and I shall index all of this and put it in the help section. Okay, so this doesn't get more exciting than this. Live IT, the ups and downs, the thrills, the spills, you lucky people. Okay, anyway, so we need to unpay Cassandra Nelson. Let's do that. There we go. I suppose it also bears in mind, I mean, I didn't plan this talk, I'm just nudging around and trying things, because actually I want you to see that things don't always turn out as you like them to, and you have to stop and think about it and try and get over that little hump. and that can kind of, try a couple of things. Don't drive yourself mad. Don't be pressing things, trying to refresh them and repeating the same thing over and getting the same result. Try it a couple of times, try another couple of things, have a think about it, maybe just take a break, have a biscuit, come back. And if it still doesn't work, I'm here to assist you. And, I will assist you. A little word here, look what happened here. We had this applied in two amounts. The amount owed was 1172.57. First of all, 842.35 was applied, leaving this balance of 330.22. At some point that was also paid, leaving the balance of 0. So I haven't talked about the payment side. These are the payments over here. Let's just go through them. That's the owed, applied. P is the pay button. B, BAL, is the balance of the particular item. How much is owed left on that particular item. VAT is just what the VAT would be if the item was VATable, and that's who it is. This is the HOV ID, which relates to the information on this tab here. And if we just pay that one again, sorry, that's schoolboy error. Pay it again, okay, and something popped up over here, 181890. Ooh, what's that? And what's this? Let's have a look. 1890 happens to be the it's not displayed on the screen, but that is this particular handover statement. And where you have, just to emphasize that, 1659, 1355, 1658, those were the handover statements that these were on. You will find them in the history here, 1355, 1560, 1658, and you can examine them here, and you can run off another report. This is what the final report to the landlord looked like for this one, and if he wants a copy, that's how you access it. Okay, or let's copy that one. We can do that too. You can print that off and send. And over here, whilst we're talking about statements, and we've done all the other tabs, help's not active yet by the way, but we've looked at tenants and handover and history now. Pay is sort of the more important statements really, I should say. When something is ready for payment, in this case this is ready for payment, it will appear up here. Now this tab is linked to the property search, so it would be better, and I will change it so that it is completely coordinated. But let's reselect the property, and we should find then that over here we see that we have this statement here ready for payment, and when it is paid, the bank ref that's normally appended to Biggie can be put here, and then we press the pound sign to show that we have paid the statement, and then it goes back into the paid statements. So these are the premium statements, the ones that have been paid on, that have a bank ref. As you can see, some of these other ones in the history were just handover statements that were produced in order to coordinate with the payment history for the landlord on the hand crank statements that had been done previously. So some of these are handover coordinating statements, and the top couple will be the ones that were actually issued to the landlord. If you see this here with a bank ref and a bank ref here, you can be sure it was issued to the landlord. Pretty much from this point in time, they'll all be in this section, and we're now up and running. So there we go. Anyway, if I go back to here a final time, I choose Cassandra Nelson again, where we made that payment. I unpay that amount, which is correct. Keep our eye over here. This shows that this statement is open and we can manipulate this information. We can't any longer update this information. We can't update it, we can't delete it because it has transactions against it and it's been locked and it's finished. Okay, so this is where we are now. Let's unpay it. Okay, and that should now. Did I press it? I don't think I did press it. Let's give it a good press. Yeah, we're working there. Right. Oh, I'm pressing the pay. What a bell end. Okay, unpay. It didn't pay it again, you'll notice. I mean, it's sort of there to... There should be some stuff in there to stop it doing that, and it didn't pay it again. And we go to the handover tab and we refresh that. We'll see, lo and behold, no, we've got a blank sheet again, nothing there. This still shows this statement here. Just to emphasize, for this, at this moment in time, it's linked to the property search. I need to change that, but there we go. If we do that, we'll see that we coordinate all of the information on the screen. If you can't see what you want on a screen, press either this or choose the property again, just to be sure that the information isn't sort of just waiting to be rendered. You know, they're kind of like a little bit like magic buttons that sort of flush things through. Like I say, you know, don't waste your time pressing these links repeatedly, but if a bit of information seems to be missing or out of date, then you could try, as a general rule, refreshing. And that's what these two items are very good at doing. Okay, now I think we've left spawn end in the correct state. Notice, just to emphasize, that now we have no open padlock and no statement. The padlocks are a really good clue with these onto what was paid when and what's current. You know, they do give an at a glance look. Okay, so now I'm going to go to 42 Lower Ford Street. 42 Lower Ford Street 1516, because this is a new account. And we'll see what we can do over here. Select Mr. Richard Brooks. Okay, now the reason I showed you that was that chose this one because it's a new account, it's a next year account. You'll be working on these shortly, or even now. And we can see that this is obviously a very odd payment schedule. There's three amounts, two rent amounts for everyone. That's because there's actually two schedules here, and where that happens we should have the choice of picking one of those schedules or the other one. So now we've picked one of those schedules, you see. Let's pick the other one. Keep your eye on the ode, 347. 347 changes to 315. We put him on the cheaper one. Now I don't know which schedule he's on. I'll leave him on that one. Notice that the schedule he's on is recorded up there. Okay. Okay. So now, have these people given any receipts? Well, there do seem to be receipts. I loaded this recently, and because I loaded it recently, this group was not here the last time refresh unit receipts was pressed. So I'm going to refresh unit receipts. Now what it's doing at the moment is it's going over to what's known as a COMBOB, and it is pulling out the receipt information which was entered into the office on COMBOB. It then sifts through that, and based on the sign-up ID, it attempts to allocate that information or transaction onto account. It also splits up block payments where you've got more than one payment. You might have a TAF and a rent and a damage deposit all on the same, you know, holding fee and rent and whatever, all on the same one. And it will split those out into individual receipts, which is better for accounting purposes. And when it's finished importing, you'll get that message there. And we still can't see any receipts. Let's refresh that block there. and there they are. Okay, so all of that worked fine. And we're on Richard Brooks, so we can see we could, if we wanted, apply some of his stuff. So he's got a holding fee there for 150, and I'd like to apply that. But if I apply the holding fee of 150, what's going to happen? He owes 75 on the TAF, so it's going to go pay 75. Oh, I've got 75 in hand. Let's apply it to the next item. Deposit. That's not right. You wanted to apply to the rent, but you know, deposit might be there before the rent. So there is a feature here. Let me draw your attention to it. Deposit excluded. Okay. I press. This is a toggle. These are links which toggle these in and out. Okay. If I'd excluded deposit, TAF, and rent, it wouldn't find anything to apply it to. I haven't tried that, but I wouldn't recommend it. So let's just take out the TAF. That's not excluded anymore. Let's take out the rent, and when I apply this here, it should just go onto the TAF and the rent. There we go. It's completely paid off the TAF, and it's put £75 against the rent, and as we know, it's created a handover statement, which we can see when we press the refresh button. There we go, Richard Brooks, £75, and it starts to do all the calculation. Now let's just say that he also paid a deposit as well. 279.29, that's probably the balance of that rent, isn't it? I'm going to unexclude the deposit, and for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to pay it. There we go. It's not paid from here, but we need to indicate it's paid. Obviously deposits, I'm going to apply this amount as well. What the hell. And obviously deposits are treated separately from other items. Let's put this chap on payment schedule 2 for the sake of argument. We're just demoing here. I'm going to wind all of this back. Is it on payment schedule 2? Did that do anything? Oh dear. Remember. Ooh. Okay, I know what's going on there. Let's just let me just try refreshing something. This is a bug. I'll sort this out. It's a new feature, but if you come across anything that's an outright bug like that, let me know straight away. As I say, this is all unplanned. We're just kind of doing a bit of a ground tour. Let's see I've endured you, who's not on a specific payment schedule, so he's still being charged an enormous amount of money, and we still don't have any joy from that. But all the same, imagine that he did have a valid payment schedule. I'll sort it out in a sec, and we'll pay this again. We'll exclude deposits and pay this amount. Notice that changes to applied as a status, and we can't apply it again. Okay, and we'll also apply his rent, which should go on to his rent, and it's probably going to just equalise that rent. It's gone on to, it's found a match between that rent amount and that rent amount, so it's obviously on the lower rent schedule. And we're starting to build up some information over here. I just wanted to build up some stuff over here to show you. Let's pay another couple of people. This deposit is still listed as excluded. Just get back over there and see if there's anything. I know what it is. I'll sort it out. Let's pay his TAF and a bit of rent there, and to give me something to work with, I'm going to unexclude his deposit. I'm going to pay that deposit there, and let's have a look at what's going on over here. I'll refresh the screen. So we have deposits, etc., etc. Placement fee, deposit handling's 25. Okay, we've got a mixture of deposits and rent here. On this occasion, we've got no bills to consider because their bills are not included. Have we got placement fees? Yes, we've got placement fees. That's good. Okay, so the placement fee times 5 is obviously that's been cranked up to a slightly awkward amount to cover the VAT. Let's say that. Or is it a percentage? It's a percentage actually. What happens if we change that? Is it? So placement fees 820.15. Yes, it's 50% of 1692.3. Looks like to me. Let's change it to 0.75. Punish him. Punish him. Placement fee. Yeah, there we go. Back to 0.5. You get the idea. 0.5. But let's say he pays, as some people do, a flat percentage placement fee. Okay, pay attention. Let's say, as in the case of what is it, Lisa Faulkner, just pays a 75. Okay, this is a little bit tricky. So that's 0.5 means it's a percentage. If I go above 1, it will treat it as a whole number and an absolute amount, not a percentage. It's now going to be £75, but that's not the default placement fee, so I have to override the placement fee. The logic behind this says, is it the percentage, as it was just now? Apply the percentage. Is it not a percentage? Okay, if it's more than 1, then charge him 150 quid. But if I set, see, I believe that would charge 3 times 150, or 5 times 150 now, the placement. See, 5 times 150, exactly, even though that's set to 75. But if we press placement fee override and update it, then it should come down dramatically. There we go, 375. So, 3 sorts of placement fee. A percentage, which it will apply as a percentage, or a whole number that's greater than 1 and not a percentage, where it will apply that. If it's greater than 150 as well. So let's take the placement fee override out. That's the other feature of it. Okay. Update deals again, and now this should charge 150. Okay, 750. I'll summarise all of this at the end, just bear with me on my whistle-stop saw. But let's say the placement fee is 200. Let's make that 200. Okay, now this is really going to hammer him for £1,000. There we go. So, you need to probably refer back to this section. The rules are, placement fee below 1, then it is treated as a percentage. Placement fee above 1, it is treated as a whole number, but it will take the greater of £150 or the amount here, unless you put placement override to yes, and then it will take an amount that's less than 150. If the amount's over 150, it will take that amount regardless of placement fee override. So to summarise again, you've got below 1 is a percentage which it will apply. You can apply a small placement fee by using placement fee override and placing that there. If placement fee override is set to no, it will choose the greater of 150. Sorry, the greater of placement fee and 150, and that's about it. Commission on bills we've already done. DAS indicator, that's the last one really. Let's set that to yes. Okay, that means that we are handling deposits on their behalf, putting them in DPS. This deposit handling fee will change to 37.5. Okay, and let's change that back again because we don't want that knocking about, causing upset and phone calls. And Finally, exclude deposit from total to send. Yes, well, what on earth could that be? Okay. Well, at the moment, the deposit is presumably not being excluded from the total to send. We've changed it. Let's refresh again. Total deductions. There we go. Total for handover. Now that the deposit has been excluded, is minus 23. Let's put it back to no. I'm sorry, it's a double negative. Exclude it. No. In other words, include it. Okay, but you know, the good thing is, if you're not sure, suck it and see. Just try it. It's only a report, this page. When it's right, you stop, you pay, you put the bank ref in, it's closed, it's done. So, yeah, we're back into a positive amount there. Okay, so, thank you very much. I'm now going to reverse all of those. That was the grand tour of the statements page.